A thunder of jets in an open sky, a streak of gray, and a cheerful...
A loop, a whirl, and a vertical climb, and once again, you'll know it's time for the adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and friends.
Starring that supersonic speedster, Rocket J. Squirrel, with his pal Bullwinkle the Moose, and a host of others.
Hurry, Bullwinkle! The show's about to start!
I'm coming as fast as I can.
Wave to the people!
Yay!
Now what are you doing?
Signing autographs. Let's see. John Smith.
But your name is Bullwinkle.
I know, but that's hard to spell.
We're gonna have a lot of fun. Come on and join us.
Sure, there's always room for one more.
Well, thousands are cheering our heroes again today because they're approaching Washington, piloting a mountain full of Upsidasium, the anti-gravity metal. But there are those to whom the occasion brings no joy. One of them is Captain Peter Peachfuzz, head of G2.
This mountain was a perfectly good secret, and now everybody knows it.
Another is that crumb of crumbs, Boris Badenoff, who has just received orders from Mr. Big to blow up the mountain and himself with it.
Come, Badenoff, light the fuse. I haven't got all day.
But, Bossman, how come I'm expendable?
You failed to get the Upsidasium, Boris. Blowing yourself up is the only honorable thing to do.
You had better think fast, darling.
But, Mr. Big, oh beloved master, if I go, you go.
What? You have a point there, Boris.
However, if you insist...
No. Put it out. Perhaps I was hasty, Boris.
You were almost hasty pudding, Chiefy Wiffy.
Very well, Badenoff. You may carry on.
Mr. Big is gone again, darling.
It's nice to know that under his sinister exterior beats a heart of pure chicken.
Meanwhile, Rocky had skillfully piloted Mount Flatten to a sheltered cove in the Atlantic coast.
Who are all those people, Rocky?
Lots of them are Washington senators, Bullwinkle.
Where's their baseball suits?
No, these are real senators. They can't play baseball.
I know. They got no pictures.
Well, of course, our boys got another chest full of decorations.
Yay!
And work started immediately on mining the mysterious metal Upsidasium. It was a tough job, for every chunk of ore had to be weighted down so it wouldn't fall up and out of sight. Then the refined metal was taken into the government vault at Fort Knick-Knack, where it was kept under close guard.
What keeps it from falling up now, Rock?
Look, Bullwinkle, they got a big steel cover on top of the pile, and it's chained to the floor.
Halt! Who goes there, friend or foe?
Do we get a choice?
It's us, Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Oh, you're always welcome, Rocky.
We just came to see this here.
Just don't touch anything.
Boy, they're tough.
I'd just like to see anybody try to steal any of this stuff.
He'd have to be a criminal genius.
A criminal genius? Well, there's only one man we know who could fit that description.
Right you are.
And who is that, Boris?
You, of course, Bossman.
Good. Now, listen carefully.
And Mr. Big outlined his plan to startle Boris.
Oh, not that, boss.
It's the only way, Boris. Now, go.
And so late that night, as Rocky and Bullwinkle slept, the stealthy figure crept into their room and made off with Rocky's helmet. A short time later, the guards at Fort Knick-Knack saw a familiar silhouette approaching them.
Halt. Who's there?
Hocus smoke, fellas. It's just me, your old pal, Rocky Squirrel.
Oh, sure. Pass, Rocky. Now, there's something you don't see every day, Chauncey.
What's that, Edgar?
A mustache on a little squirrel.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe he fibs about his age.
Still, I wonder if he really is Rocky the Flying Squirrel.
And the guard started after the disguised Boris, but Boris heard him coming, and quickly seizing a small chunk of Upsidasium, he tucked it into his coat. Then, lifted by the anti-gravity metal, he rose into the air right before the guard's eyes. And then, as the guard left, Boris quickly cut the alarm wires. Things were all set up for the biggest robbery in history.
Be sure to be with us next.
I'll tell them. Be with us next time for the Steel Hour or a Snitch in Time.
Once upon a time, there was a very beautiful but very lonely young maiden who more than anything else wanted to find a true love. She would pore through the Lonely Hearts mail order catalog by the hour, but never with any luck. Day after day, she stood on a busy street corner where all the handsome young blades of the kingdom passed by sooner or later, but all they ever did was to pass without giving her a second look. If this kept up, she might turn out to be an old maid. Could it be that a handsome young man would never ask her for a hand in marriage? What could be the trouble?
Good heavens, you don't suppose it's something my friends won't tell me? Well, maybe I'm putting on too much weight.
Well, she was relieved to see that weight was not her problem. She was still a dainty 165 pounds. Then she noticed her fortune on the back of the weight card, and what she saw set her heart a-twitter, for it said, "A wicked witch will put you to sleep with an evil spell. Then a handsome prince will awaken you with a kiss, and you will live happily ever after." She was overjoyed.
Oh, boy, a handsome prince. Just what I've always wanted. Oh, you nice machine. You've made me the happiest beauty in the world.
And with that, she dashed off to await the witch. She waited and waited and waited. 2 months later, she was still waiting, and the witch hadn't shown up.
That fortune card just can't be wrong. If the witch won't come to me, I'll go to the witch. I wonder which witch was supposed to do the job.
A short time later, she arrived at the house of a little witch who lived just outside of town and knocked on the door. She rang the bell. Anyway, the witch answered.
Come in.
Where have you been?
Right in here, brewing away, honey. Pass the powdered bat, will you please? Now, very carefully, I add just a teeny-weeny pinch. Oh, drat, that's the third time this week I must be putting too much yeast in the darn stuff.
Never mind that. You were supposed to cast a spell on me.
I was? Oh, that's funny. There's nothing in my appointment book about it. What was I supposed to do, honey? Turn you into a toad?
No.
I've got it a camel.
No. You were supposed to put me to sleep.
Sleep? Oh, say you must be Beauty.
That's right, Frances Beauty. And
land's sakes, I remember now. The assignment completely slipped my mind. Well, you just sit there, honey. I'll have you to sleep.
Now, here, silly. We gotta go out where the prince will be sure to find me.
Beauty hurried the witch off to the local park, and with no further delay...
Now, I lie here on the park bench and you put me to sleep.
All right, child. Here we go. Prickly thorn, Morpheus horn. There, my dear, don't weep. I cast the spell right on your head, and you will sleep, sleep, sleep. You asleep, honey?
No.
Well, that's funny. I must have forgotten the spell. I'll try again.
And the little old witch tried every spell she could think of.
Rock-a-bye, Beauty, in the treetop.
But nothing she did could put Beauty to sleep.
Why don't you try counting bats, honey?
But it was too late, for just then the handsome prince was seen riding toward them on his gallant steed.
Now, don't worry, honey. I'll think of the right spell in a minute, dear. Now, just
There's no time for that. Now the prince is coming. Out! He mustn't see you.
With no time left, Beauty did the only thing she could do on such short notice. She dove to the park bench and pretended she was asleep. And as the prince approached...
Good heavens! It sounds like a terrible beast in yon bushes. But I'm a brave young prince, so I will go in there and slash him and kill him until he's dead at least. And then I'll... Wait a minute. That isn't a beast, it's a beauty, and she sleeps. You are asleep, aren't you, ma'am?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I bet an evil witch has cast a spell on her. I will kiss her and wake her so we can live. Happily ever after, that is.
Oh, thank goodness. I thought you'd never get here.
Sweetie!
Darling!
Hold it!
What do you want?
I just remembered the spell that will put you to sleep. Ready?
No! I don't need that now!
And with that, Beauty fell to the ground, sound asleep.
See, I knew I'd...
But so did the prince.
Oops, I goofed. Well, if I'm not a little stinker. Well, they'll both be asleep for 100 years or more, so if you'll come back then, we'll finish the story for you. Right now, I've got an appointment with a fellow named Rip Van Winkle. Wonder if I'll have any trouble with him.
'Today's lesson is mighty important, remember?
Bullwinkle is a...
Not that lesson. This lesson.
And here he is now, your dancing instructor, Mr. Know-it-all.
Ho, Chemo Sabers! Today our little seminar is entitled How to Be an Indian in One Easy Lesson, or You Can Be a Tonto Pronto. First, we'll start with the uniform. As you can see, the well-dressed Indian almost isn't. Here's the latest thing for rich Indians.
Bullwinkle, what's that dragon behind you?
That's the cord, Rock. Haven't you seen an electric Indian blanket? Next, we have the headdress.
What kind of Indian would wear that?
A Cleveland Indian, naturally. Now, the chief wears a big bonnet of eagle feathers. Must be for the super chief. The Indian brave wears one eagle feather like so, and the not-so-brave wears one of these.
What's that, Bullwinkle?
A chicken feather, of course. Here, Rocky, I got a headdress for you.
Well, what does that make me, Bullwinkle?
You now honorary paleface. Indians don't have a weather bureau, so they make their own rain by having rain dances like this. May I cut in? They call this the Cherokee Cha-Cha-Cha. Indians communicate by using smoke signals like this.
What does it say?
Says, put out that fire. Signed, Smokey the Bear. The Indian diet consists mainly of cornmeal, buffalo steak, moose meat, fish, and... Moose meat?
Well, thank you, Mr. Know-it-all.
Don't thank me! Just send the cavalry!
Peabody here. Today, Sherman and I are going back to the year 64 A.D. to visit with one of history's most renowned violinists.
Jack Benny?
No, that would be 39 A.D., Sherman. Our illustrious fiddler was none other than the Emperor of Rome, Nero. We set the way back controls, and before you could say quo vadis, we were standing on the steps of Nero's palace.
I smell smoke, Mr. Peabody.
Oh, that is a bad sign, Sherman, because according to history books, Nero is responsible for setting fire to Rome.
Idiots, what do you think you're doing?
We just put the fire out, Emperor.
You mean you just put the barbecue out? What's more, you've made my steak soggy. Out, get out!
We thought it was a fire, Mr. Nero.
Well, it wasn't. I can't stand fires, and yet everyone blames them on me. Oh, dear, there's another one.
In the far corner, the Emperor's throne was raging out of control.
Quick! You get some water, and I'll get my violin.
Sherman and I soon had the fire under control. As for Nero, do you always do that?
Do what?
Fiddle during a fire.
Oh, yes, that's quite a quirk with me. As soon as I smell smoke, I have to play. Would you like to hear Laura?
What does it all mean, Mr. Peabody?
Well, there has to be a motive behind these fires, Sherman. Now, who would stand to profit by them?
Goodwill?
No, I'd say Nero's violin teacher. As long as there are fires, Nero fiddles. And as long as he fiddles, he takes lessons, or should. We left the palace and headed for the only music teacher in town, a certain Oddpus Rex.
Is that the violin you're making for Nero, boss?
It is, and this one will guarantee a big fire.
How so?
You see the bow? Well, actually, it's a large match. All Nero has to do is strike it on the strings, and there'll be a hot time in the old town tonight. Now get out of sight. Here come 2 customers.
Mr. Oddpuss Rex?
You wish the boy to take violin lessons?
No, sir. We came here to advise you to stop playing with fire.
Oh, then you know.
Everything. Unless you leave Rome and promise to give up arson, we'll turn you over to Nero.
I was about to do just that. In fact, behind this door are my overnight bags. I'm leaving Rome on the next train.
Of course, we didn't believe him and decided to look in the back room. There were no overnight bags.
True, but you'll never get out to tell anyone.
It was a trap.
Not only for us, for Oddpuss Rex's henchmen as well.
He told me to duck out of sight, so I ducked in here. When that big fire starts, we'll be caught.
He told us of the diabolical violin, and I knew we had to return to the palace immediately. Here, play this fiddle, Sherman.
But I can't play, Mr. Peabody.
I know that. It was a fearful 5 minutes we spent chained to Sherman's concert, but it brought results. The citizens in the neighborhood also resented Sherman's music.
Get out of here!
Arriving at the palace, we discovered that Nero was about to give a concert.
For my first number, I should like to play a Jerry Mulligan arrangement.
If he strikes that bow, the palace will go up in flames.
I grabbed a pull cord on the curtain and flew across the stage. En route, I plucked the match bow from the unsuspecting soloist.
Good work, Mr. Peabody.
It was good, but unfortunately, Oddpuss Rex was just as air-minded as I. He, too, flew across the stage, but he replaced the match bow, and before I could make a return flight, Nero had burst into song, and the fiddle burst into flame, and we had a disaster in the making.
I'm afraid it's curtains, Mr. Peabody.
Well, that gave me an idea. I examined the stage curtains, and there was the word I was looking for: asbestos. I merely pulled a knot, and the curtain descended on Nero's performance. As for Oddpuss Rex, this didn't stop him. He dashed about the building, giving everyone he saw a hot foot. Luckily, the last person he gave a hot foot to was the chief of police.
Thank you, Citizen Peabody, for saving the palace. And now, if you'll excuse me, I have to start a barbecue in the middle of the city. And oh, this one is going to be big, big, big.
Rome was no place to be in at this moment. We decided to embark for home, but not before we took a unique little violin as a memento of our visit.
That's a funny-looking violin.
Funny-looking, but priceless. This was made by a man named Strada. As you can see, he made various types of instruments.
Is that why they call it a Stradivarius, Mr. Peabody?
That's why, Sherman.
Our story opens today in, of all places, the Up in Arms, a Washington hotel. That figure lying peacefully in a hotel bed is our hero, Rocky. You will notice that he's wearing a nightcap instead of his usual flying helmet, and for a very good reason. The helmet was stolen by Boris Badenov, who then proceeded to the Upsidasium warehouse at Fort Knick-Knack, disguised as...
Hokey smoke, fellas. It's me, Rocky, Flying Squirrel.
Sure, go on in, Rocky.
Yes, disguised as Rocky, Boris penetrated directly to the room containing the nation's entire supply of Upsidasium. Then he cut the alarm wires and opened the rear window.
Ahoy out there, you swamps!
Boris, what means the Navy talk?
Means coast is clear.
Once inside, the two spies were soon joined by the sinister shadow of that criminal mastermind, Mr. Big.
Well, there is Upsidasium, Mr. Big. My plan is working perfect.
Your plan, Boris?
Sorry, bossman. I meant your plan.
That's better.
And look outside. Got fleet of trucks.
Then let's get started.
Okay, boss. Let's go.
You don't understand, Boris. When I say we, I mean you.
That figures. Come on, Natasha.
Well, the villain's plan was nearly foolproof, all right. They've made only one little mistake. They forgot that Upsidasium falls up.
Oop.
Boris, let go of it.
Mr. Big, looks like your plan is wash out.
My plan, Boris?
I was forgetting. My plan.
Meanwhile, back in his hotel room, we find our boy Rocky wide awake.
Oh, dear.
What's the matter, Rock?
I can't sleep, Bullwinkle.
Well, small wonder your eyes are open.
No, it's all those lights outside. I need a pair of dark glasses.
Why don't you paint your goggles black and...
Hey, that's a great idea, Bullwinkle. Uh-oh, I can't.
No paint?
No goggles, they're gone. Somebody must have stolen to look like me, Bullwinkle.
But who wants to look like you? No offense, Rock.
I don't know, but I bet it has something to do with that Upsidasium. Come on.
And so, clad in night clothes, our heroes dashed off toward Fort Knick-Knack. At the fort itself, Boris had come up with a cunning plan.
What you going to do with those magnets, darling?
Watch, Natasha. Floor is metal, no?
Is metal, yes.
As I strap magnets to shoes, they hold me to floor. Upsidasium can't pull me up.
Sure enough, Boris was now able to handle the fabulous metal and busily trotted back and forth, loading the trucks which backed up outside the window. Of course, these magnets were very powerful, as the soldiers in the room below the storeroom found out.
You seen my helmet, Chauncey? Oh, thanks.
Now, where's my rifle, Edgar? I had it right... Oh, there it is.
But at that moment, Natasha and Boris entered the room, followed by the bemetaled General Broadbean.
But I tell you, it isn't me. It's somebody else up there, General.
Fantastic! This place is a military oop!
Is that anything like a civilian oop?
Something's going on up there, Bullwinkle. Let's go.
The old man's up in the air again, eh, Chauncey?
Yes, Edgar, and this time he really hit the ceiling.
Of course, as soon as Boris moved, the General made a rapid descent.
The guard! Call out the guard! Too late, you miserable military men. Boris Bedenoff strikes again.
Why, Boris, that's a poem.
Now Bedenoff will quickly flee.
So why we don't go?
Can't think of a rhyme for flee.
I've got one. Be with us next time when we see Verse and Worse or Crime Without Rhyme.
Well, it looks as if our time is just about run out.
Just enough left to tell him who the sponsor was.
You got the credits, Bullwinkle?
All on this itty-bitty card. Oop.
We're late again, Bullwinkle.
Right.
Bye now. See you next time.